Hey there, y'all. Grab a seat. What can I get you? Good choice. It's been pretty busy in here lately. A lot of scuttlebutt and rumors going around. Some interesting people are heading this way, is what everybody's saying. That's the cool thing about rumors. There's this glimmer of possibility to them. That enjoyment of being in the know. But sometimes it isn't quite what you thought it would be, but that's what makes it all the more fun when you find out in the end, isn't it? By the way, I'm Rain, and this is Fennec Fables, where we delve into some fun prompts for adding depth to your TTRPG games, to give you some interesting ideas to think about as you play or prepare. In a lot of TTRPGs, players will come across NPCs or events that directly call them to attention to a problem or an issue they should face. This works, of course. Being direct is one of the easiest ways to get someone's attention after all. But what if instead of dropping the issue or lead right into your player's hands, you wanted them to work for it just a little bit? It's human nature in a way to feel that something that you was worked for or searched for is earned and all that more valuable. So perhaps the players may hear something, either from a passing stranger on the street, overhearing it in a bar or tavern, or even seeing a letter or note that was left out in the open. Now you have their attention and intrigue. This can reward that player that loves to snoop around, that one that enjoys all the world's lore, or a way to tie back in that one player that just loves to go off on their own for some reason. Though that can vary by table if it's a behavior you want to encourage after all. But now is the next crucial step, the most crucial step. How viable and truthful is this information anyways? We are kind of hardwired to believe everything we see or hear in a game. This NPC said this, so it must be truthful, right? Unless they have a bad vibe, but that's a different conversation for later. While this is, of course, a good base, we don't want to slow down the game or cause it to become a standstill. But a little variety now and again can keep everything from feeling like it's unerringly moving at the same pace. Much akin to a roller coaster, you want to have that slow build of intrigue and interest before they start going into all these twists and turns and maybe even a flip or loop that they weren't quite prepared for until they've reached their final conclusion. For ease of explaining this, I'm going to categorize these into just 4 general types. There's going to be the completely true, the completely false, the muddled, and the pearl, which is a personal favorite of mine. Completely true rumors to start are of course completely true. Someone saw something or enough people talking about it together get the gist that there's something off about that new potion seller that no one's seen the face of, or stuff has been really disappearing around town lately at night. Some of the best uses for this are things that are noticeable and peculiar, such as odd, magical, or fantastical going-ons that the average people may not be able to fully grasp. But the players will love to get into that. Or maybe it's something a bit more mundane, but still requires a touch that most average people can't deal with. Something like a power disparity between local political figures, or maybe it's even physical might. The players will be able to intercede where others cannot. These are just some general ideas after all, but I'm sure you know what I mean. As for the completely false, this one is a bit more straightforward. None of it is accurate. From who, what, where, why, none of it holds water. For whatever reason, it came into existence either from a great misunderstanding or somebody looking to slander another. These can be very useful for intrigue games, where you might want to create a social challenge of some kind. Someone has put out rumors that a local politician is actually a werewolf, which is why he's going missing on moonlit nights and has the city out for blood. But it was made up and coming from Noble's son, wanting to make room for themselves on a local council for some reason, or maybe just because he felt like it. It's a good lesson to have players learn early on in your games that they shouldn't always trust every word they hear. Listen, obviously, but as the saying goes, trust but verify. I'm sure we've all had that moment in a game where we went into a scenario because we were fully trusting everything we heard. And then it turns out we were misled. It happens. Now there is the muddled rumor. This one is interesting because it has some truth and some falsehoods. It's up to the players to get a hold of each thread and do their best to separate the fact from the fiction. How hard you make this should, of course, vary for your table's interests to puzzles and their attention spans, but it's a useful tool to have. Know your audience, after all. Rumors are simple as the brewer having a torture chamber in his cellar, and it turns out the whispers that they were hearing was actually just the gas of his latest brew getting released in a way, to this grand conspiracy of backstab and intrigue and political meddling that could start off a whole new campaign on its own. For these types of rumors, I highly recommend notes both on what the players have heard and not heard, but also you, the game master, can keep track of what they have pieced together and what they may be off base on. You can, if necessary, have more leads come in from NPCs or sources they trust, or let them make their own mistakes. It all depends on what kind of game you want to run. Now, my personal fave through all of these is what I like to call the Pearl. These are those outlandish tales that all started from one true thing that's been embellished, expanded, or even joked about, and as it does, becomes its own thing entirely. These make for great little gags or scenes when you want some levity. For a personal DM story, I once had a rumor in one of my games. There was this hag off in the edge of the woods. Her hands, these sharp dagger-like claws, and big piercing eyes looking on from inside this hut. She had a familiar of a young dragon, vicious and bloodthirsty, and would tear you apart as soon as look at you. Of course, this immediately got my players' attention. They would just rush off to track down this woman. Now, come to find out, that was actually not the truth. They were smart in this case, and they scoped out the place first, and they find out it was an elderly widow with arthritic hands bent with age and time, and these thick Coke bottle glasses that made her eyes appear massive. Talking with her, they find out she has a pet iguana her late husband brought back from a sea voyage, who is quite partial to tomatoes. It slapped a child with its tail once and broke the skin, and now that story is ballooned out from nowhere amongst these kids. The players loved this moment, and it gave them a reprieve from the more serious tones of that particular game, while also giving me an NPC that they were invested in, to give them some tidbits, some supplies from her garden, and also someone that they eventually would come back to and again, and since she was memorable, they felt like an organic friend and ally. Things are simple with these rumors. You can make them even richer with your game. Sometimes just a simple little offhand comment can make its own little side story. I hope these talking points might get you interested in the idea of adding or trying it out in your own games. Thanks so much for watching, and join us in the comments with your own fun stories of rumors you've had in your own game and the hijinks that came from them. If you can, a like, a share, or especially a subscribe really helps as I'm getting these videos out. And of course, join me on Twitter or Blue Sky, where I post prompts and questions daily. And who knows, your responses may be part of a future video. See y'all in the next one, and hope this helps you tell better tales. Bye.